International Student Visa Pathways, Lecture Script Slide 1, Title and Introduction. Hello everyone, and welcome to Navigating South Korea's Visa Pathways, a comprehensive guide for international students. I'm Your Name, and I'll be guiding you through the journey from being a student in Korea to building a long-term career here. This session is part of our Career Development Series and is brought to you by the International Student Affairs Office. We'll break down the visa options and requirements you need to know, from your student visa all the way to permanent residency. My goal is to explain these visas in clear, simple terms, so you can plan your future in Korea with confidence. Relax, feel free to take notes, and let's dive in. Engaging tone. By the end of today's talk, you'll understand how to go from a freshman on a D2 student visa to potentially a permanent resident on an F5 visa, all while avoiding pitfalls and making the most of opportunities. So let's get started. Slide 2. Overview. What this lecture covers. Overview. This lecture presents the full landscape of visa options for international students in Korea. We're going to explain practical pathways from student status to permanent residency, step by step. You'll gain a detailed understanding of visa requirements, work permissions, language qualifications, and strategic planning for a successful long-term career in Korea. In short, we'll demystify visas like D2 student, D10 job seeker, E7 work, F2 resident, F5 permanent resident, and even D8 startup visas. We'll talk about key requirements and limitations of each, what kind of work you can do on each visa, how Korean language proficiency, like TOPIK or KIP, plays a role, and some practical strategies for your long-term career planning. Key focus areas. We'll highlight the latest 2025 regulations, including specific income thresholds, language requirements, and practical strategies to transition between visas. All the information is drawn from official immigration policies and real experiences of international students. By understanding these, you can avoid common mistakes and chart a clear path to reach your career goals in Korea. Engaging commentary. Think of this as a roadmap, starting from where you are now, perhaps an undergrad on a student visa, to where you might want to be, like landing a job and eventually settling in Korea. Each section of this talk is like a stop on that map. Slide 3. Contents. Roadmap of topics. Before we jump into the details, let me give you a quick roadmap of what we'll cover today. We'll start with a big picture look at Korea's strategy in attracting global talent. This will set the context for why certain visas exist. Next, we'll cover the D2 student visa basics and rules for part-time work during your studies. After that, we move on to the D10 job seeker visa, a bridge for graduates looking for jobs or startup opportunities. Then we'll discuss the E7 work visa, which is crucial for those wanting to be employed in Korea, and how to meet its requirements, like salary thresholds and job categories. We'll also break down how income is evaluated for visa purposes, because how much you earn and how it's documented can affect your visa status. Language proficiency has its own section. We'll talk about TOPIK versus KIP, what they are and why they matter for visas. Then on to longer-term stays, the F2 resident visas, including the points-based route and the long-term residence route, followed by the F5 permanent residency pathways, like the time-based route, points conversion, and academic qualifications route for PhD holders. We won't forget the D8 startup visa for the entrepreneurs among you. We'll also look at real violation cases and penalties, basically what not to do, with true examples of students who broke the rules and faced consequences. Finally, we'll go over visa renewal and status change procedures, so you know how to maintain legal status as you progress, and end with some practical tips, Q&A and contact information for further help. Conversational add-on. It sounds like a lot, but don't worry. We'll tackle these one by one. And remember, this is meant to be interactive, so feel free to note down questions for the Q&A at the end. Now let's start with the big picture. Slide 4. Korea's global talent strategy. Korea's approach to foreign talent. South Korea is actively reshaping its immigration policies to attract skilled international talent. Why? The country faces a shrinking population and labor shortages, so it's looking outward for bright minds. Foreign residents now number over 2.65 million, more than 5% of the population, as of 2024, partly thanks to government initiatives like the Study Korea 300K project, aimed at making Korea a top study destination. Unlike some countries with open-door policies, Korea's strategy is highly targeted. The government prioritizes quality over quantity, meaning they're selective, looking for professionals who can contribute to the economy and integrate into Korean society. Selective and strategic. Korea focuses on attracting talent in strategic industries, think tech, engineering, science, etc., and those who show adaptability to Korean culture. Policies are continuously evolving to meet these talent needs. In practical terms, this means many visa pathways, like work visas and residency visas, have specific criteria to ensure you're the kind of talent Korea wants, such as certain education levels, Korean language skills, or salary levels. It's not an easy open gate. It's more like a curated pathway. But if you understand the system, you can navigate it successfully. Relatable example. For instance, Korea won't simply let every graduate stay on indefinitely. They're looking for those who can fill gaps in the workforce or bring valuable skills. That's why a computer science grad might find more opportunities and visa options than someone in a non-strategic field. It's targeted, not arbitrary. This might sound challenging, but the upside is that Korea has clear programs to help those who do have the skills and dedication, like special startup visas, points-based residency, etc. Keep this strategy in mind. It explains why some visas have the hurdles they do. Slide 5. D2 Student Visa. Essentials. Let's start with the visa most of you likely have now, the D2 Student Visa. The D2 is the standard visa for international students pursuing formal degree programs in Korea. Whether it's an associate's, bachelor's, master's, or PhD, its primary purpose is study, not employment, so it comes with some restrictions on working. Think of the D2 as your ticket to study in Korea, which you can renew as long as you maintain your student status and good academic standing. Key features of D2. This visa is meant for full-time degree students at Korean universities. It's usually valid for the length of your semester and can be extended each semester or year as you progress academically. However, working off campus requires a separate permit. You can't just take a job without permission. The D2 is renewable based on your academic status, meaning you need to remain enrolled and in good standing to extend it. Work permission requirements. To get approval for any part-time work on a D2, you must meet certain conditions. One is academic performance, typically a minimum GPA of 2.0 C grade in your previous semester is required to qualify for work permission. If your grades fall below that, the immigration office can deny your work permit because they expect you to focus on studies first. Also, you often need your university's approval before you apply to work off campus. Universities sometimes provide a letter or form confirming they have no objection to you working, as long as you're handling coursework. Other limitations. Language proficiency is another factor. Korean language ability often matters. Immigration may ask for proof of Korean proficiency, like TOPIK or completion of KIP courses, when you apply for work permission. We'll explain TOPIK and KIP soon, but basically TOPIK is a Korean language test, and KIP is a Korean integration program. If you came to Korea on a D4 language training, or a D28 exchange student before your D2, note that there's a 6-month waiting period after starting your D2 before you can get a work permit. They want you to complete at least half a year of studies first. And even with permission, you're limited to 20 hours of work per week during semesters for most undergraduates, or 30 hours if you're a graduate student. We'll detail this next. Some types of jobs are completely off-limits to student visa holders, like private tutoring or certain labor jobs. More on that in a moment. The main idea is D2 is for studying, and while you can work part-time, it's a privilege with conditions to ensure your studies remain the top priority. Engagement tip. So if you're on a D2 now, ask yourself, how's my GPA? Can I balance work and study? The rules are there to make sure you succeed academically first. Slide 6. D2 Visa. Part-time work regulations. Many of you might be interested in part-time jobs during school, so let's talk about how to do that legally on a D2 visa. International students must meet specific requirements to be eligible for off-campus part-time work. These rules cover how many hours you can work, what academic standing you need, and even your Korean language level in some cases. Academic requirements. As mentioned, you need at least a 2.0 GPA C average in your last semester to qualify for a work permit as a D2 student. If you're a new student in your first semester, you're generally exempt from the GPA requirement, since you don't have grades yet. However, first semester students might still have to wait a few months before working, often one semester, or stick to on-campus jobs initially. Once you have grades, keeping them above that minimum is crucial if you want to continue working part-time. Work hour limits. During the academic term, there are strict limits on work hours. Typically, undergraduate freshmen and sophomores can work up to 20 hours per week, while juniors, seniors, and graduate students may be allowed up to 30 hours per week if the university is certified, some grad students even 35 hours. These hours usually exclude weekends, but actually, Korea often counts the total hours in a week including weekends, so it's not 20 plus weekend, it's 20 in total. During official school vacation periods, there's no hour limit. You can work full-time in summer or winter break if you have permission. Still, the type of work must be appropriate and within your permit scope. Remember, even if you have no class conflicts in a week, you cannot exceed your weekly hour cap during the semester. Immigration can check timesheets and schedules. Language proficiency requirement. Here's where TOPIK KIP comes in. If you have no Korean language certification, you'll be very limited in work hours, often only 10 to 15 hours per week total. The idea is, if you haven't proven some Korean ability, they don't want you working too much. On the other hand, if you have TOPIK Level 3 or completed KIP Level 3, you qualify for the standard 20-30 hour work limits as an underclassman. For upperclassmen and graduate students, they often expect TOPIK Level 4 or KIP Level 4 to give you the full 30-35 hours week allowance. There's an exception. If you're in an English-taught program, you might not need TOPIK. Many schools allow a TOEFL or IELTS score instead to meet the language criterion. For example, a TOEFL IBT score TAKU 71 or IELTS TAK 5.5 might substitute for TOPIK 3 in those cases. In short, better Korean skills, more work hours allowed. It's an incentive for you to improve your Korean even while studying your main degree. Example for clarity. Imagine John is a D2 student with TOPIK 4. He could work, say, 20-25 hours a week as a junior, but Jane has no TOPIK score. She might be capped at 10 hours a week. And if either of them let their GPA slip below 2.0, they could lose the work permit altogether. So the takeaway is, keep your grades up and work on your Korean to maximize your part-time work options as a student. Slide 7, D2. Visa permitted versus prohibited. Jobs, it's not just about hours. What job you do on a D2 visa also matters. Student visa holders must stick to certain allowed job types and avoid those that are strictly forbidden, even if you have work permission. Taking on a prohibited job can lead to serious penalties. We're talking fines, visa cancellation, or even deportation in worst cases. So let's clearly separate the permitted from the prohibited. Permitted part-time jobs. Generally, you're allowed to do relatively low-risk, casual jobs that won't conflict with immigration rules. Common examples include working at cafes or restaurants, being a store clerk or cashier in retail, basic office administrative work, or on-campus jobs like in the library or as a TA with university approval. Some research labs might hire you as an assistant if it's related to your field and you have school permission. Translation or interpretation related to your major is usually okay too. Even factory work is technically permitted under certain conditions, though less common, and might require special permissions. The pattern here is that allowed jobs are generally in line with a student status. They're often part-time hourly jobs that locals do too, and not involving high professional credentials or sensitive areas. Prohibited jobs. Now, very clearly, here are jobs you cannot do on a D2 visa. Even if someone offers to pay you under the table, it's not worth the risk. Private tutoring is a big no-no. This surprises some students. For example, teaching English one-on-one to kids or tutoring math privately is illegal unless you have a separate teaching visa. A D2 student was actually caught doing this and faced deportation because they didn't have the right visa for tutoring. More on that case later. Delivery riding for apps like food delivery or being a driver for rideshare is forbidden too. Working in adult entertainment venues, bars, nightclubs, karaoke rooms, is strictly off limits. Even if you're just serving drinks or doing simple work, immigration bans student visa holders from these places. Construction or heavy manual labor jobs are not allowed. Also, jobs involving teaching minors in formal settings, like being a teacher at a language school for kids, are off limits unless you somehow have special clearance, usually not possible on D2. And any job far outside what a student would typically do, say something with a high safety risk, or that's clearly unrelated to being a student, could be considered unauthorized. A guideline some use is if a job requires at least an e-visa or specific license. Here D2 shouldn't be doing it. Penalties. If you work a prohibited job or exceed your hour limits and get caught, the penalties can be severe. Fines can go up to W30 million, though smaller violations might result in smaller fines, that's the ceiling, and your visa can be cancelled. Deportation is a real risk, and if that happens, you could also be banned from re-entering Korea for years. Employers who illegally hire student visa holders also face heavy fines and legal trouble, so there's liability on both sides. Korea is getting stricter with enforcement. They do surprise checks and even use data from tax records and apps to find violators. So it's just not worth it. Stick to the permitted jobs, and if you're unsure, ask your international office or immigration before accepting a position. Relatable commentary. I know it might be tempting to tutor privately for quick cash or take that delivery gig on the weekend. But remember, one small mistake can jeopardize your whole future in Korea. When in doubt, choose a safer part-time job or wait until you have the proper visa. Slide 8. D2 Visa. How to get work permission. Steps. Now that we know the rules, how do you actually get the part-time work permit under your D2 visa? It's not automatic. You must apply for permission before starting any off-campus job. Here's a simple step-by-step guide. Find a job and prepare documents. First, secure a tentative job offer, or at least know where you want to work. Remember, it must be a permitted job. Then gather all required documents. Generally, you need your passport, your Alien Registration Card, ARC, that's your Foreigner ID card, a part-time work application form, and a confirmation of part-time work for foreign student form from your universitycowork.kr. The university form usually needs to be signed by a faculty advisor or international office, confirming your student status and approval to work. You'll also attach an academic transcript or attendance record to show you meet the GPA requirement, cowork.kr. Additionally, you'll need a copy of the employer's business, registration certificate, and a standard labor contract or job offer letter from the place you'll work or work.kr. This proves the job is legitimate and states your working hours and duties. If you have a TOPIK certificate or KIP completion document, include that too, as it can affect your allowed hours. Submit the application. You have two ways, online or in person. Online is done through the Hi Korea website, which is the official immigration portal cowork.kr. You'd fill in the application form electronically and upload scans of all those documents. It's pretty convenient if you're tech-savvy, and some schools might assist with this. Alternatively, offline means going to your local immigration office cowork.kr. If you choose offline, you might need to make a reservation, also via Hi Korea, to visit the immigration office, then bring all your documents in hard copy. In either case, there's usually a small fee for the permit, and you might have to wait a couple of weeks for approval. Don't start working until you get the permit approval or stamp. Understand the permit duration and conditions. A part-time work permit for a student is typically valid for up to 1 year during your studies, or sometimes just for the current semester, yearcowork.kr. If you apply during a semester, they often set it to expire at the end of that semester, or 1 year max. You can renew it if you're still eligible, with updated grades and documents each time. If you apply on vacation, note that the permit might be explicitly for a shorter term covering that breakawork.kr. Always check the expiration date of your work permit and the allowed hours on the approval notice. Also, the permit is job-specific. It usually lists your workplace and role. If you want to change jobs or add a second part-time job, you must reapply or update your permit for the new workplace cowork.kr. .kr. You cannot assume one permit covers any job. It's tied to what you applied for. Engaging suggestion. Think of getting your work permit like enrolling in a class. There's paperwork to fill, prerequisites to meet like GPA, topic, and you need an approval before you begin. It might seem bureaucratic, but it protects you by making everything official. Plus, having that permit means you can work without constantly looking over your shoulder for immigration checks. Once you have your permit in hand, you're good to go to work your approved hours. Just keep up your grades and don't violate the conditions, and you'll be fine. Slide 9. D10 Job Seeker Visa Overview. Now let's fast forward to after graduation. Suppose you've finished your degree, congratulations. But you don't have a job offer in Korea yet. Or maybe you want some time to search for the right job, or even plan a startup. The D10 visa is designed exactly for this transition period. It's often called the Job Seeker Visa or Internship Visa. The D10 serves as a crucial bridge between student life and professional employment in Korea. In other words, it gives you time and legal status after graduation to find a job or prepare for entrepreneurship. What D10 allows? If you get a D10, you can stay in Korea for up to 2 years total, usually in increments, to pursue employment opportunities or startup plans. Think of it as a buffer period. During this time, you're not tied to one employer. You can go to interviews, network, join job fairs, maybe do some training or short-term work, etc., under certain conditions. It offers specific privileges and has some limitations. For example, you can do internships on a D10, which you generally cannot on a D2. And you might be allowed some part-time work if you have the right language level. But you can't just do any job you want. It's meant for job seeking or skill building. Eligibility for D10. To qualify, you typically need at least a bachelor's degree or higher. Note, an associate's degree might qualify if it's from a Korean college. Since most of you will have a university degree when you finish, that's covered. There's also often a points-based assessment for the D10. This isn't as formalized as some other visas, but immigration might score you based on your education level, Korean language ability, and any prior work or internship experience. New graduates from Korean universities usually meet the criteria easily, especially if you have TOPIK level 4 or so. In fact, recently TOPIK level 4 has been effectively required for new grads to get D10 straight out of school. They want to ensure you have a decent level of Korean as you enter the job market. If you don't have TOPIK 4 or higher, you might still get a D10, but possibly for a shorter period, or with more scrutiny. There are sometimes exceptions or alternate ways, but TOPIK 4 is a good target. Permitted activities on D10. What can you do on a D10 visa? Quite a bit, actually, within the realm of job hunting. You can do internships for up to 6 months per company and up to 1 year total. So you could intern at 2 different places for 6 months each, for example. This is great for getting Korean work experience. You can work part-time, but only if you have TOPIK level 4+ and graduated from a Korean university. This condition is to ensure you can integrate at the workplace. Part-time on D10 might be like a few hours a week in a related field, but the main focus should still be finding a full-time role. You can actively attend job interviews, career fairs, networking events. These are obviously encouraged and don't require special permission. They are the job searching itself. If you're planning a startup, D10 has a subcategory D10-2 for startup preparation. That lets you do market research, develop a business plan, maybe join an incubator, etc. It's a pathway to eventually getting a D8 startup visa, which we'll cover later. We'll talk more about startup steps in the D8 section, but know that D10 can support your entrepreneurship plans too. Duration and extensions. Initially, the D10 is usually granted for 6 months at a time. You might hear 2 years. Yes, you can extend it up to 2 years total, and there's talk of potentially 3 years as of 2025. But you won't get 2 years in one go. Typically, immigration will give you 6 months, and then you have to apply for an extension. Show that you're still actively job seeking or preparing a startup, and then they give another 6 months and so on. Each extension requires proof that you're making progress, like job applications, interview invitations, a business plan draft, or an admission to a startup incubator, something that shows you're not just lounging around. Up to 4 extensions, 5x 6-month periods have been possible, reaching 2 years, and they've considered allowing up to 3 years if needed. Application requirements. When you apply for D10, you'll need to submit some documents. A job-seeking plan form. This is a form where you outline what your plan is to find a job or start a business. Basically, you write the fields you're targeting, any companies of interest, study plans, etc. Treat it seriously because immigration will read it. Your graduation certificate or proof of expected graduation to show you finished or are finishing your degree. Your academic transcripts, records to show your education background. Language proficiency proof like TOPIK score report or KIP completion if you have them. As said, TOPIK 4 is kind of a benchmark for leniency in granting D10 financial proof. Bank statements showing you have enough money to support yourself while job hunting. A common guideline is having funds equal to at least 1 year of living expenses in Korea. It doesn't need to be huge, but they want to ensure you won't be destitute. If you have a scholarship money left or family support, those can be shown. Any experience certificates or letters from previous internships or work, if applicable. This can bolster your case, showing you have relevant experience or skills, and of course, the standard application form, your passport, ARC, and so on. Encouraging note, the D10 is a fantastic option to buy yourself time to find the right opportunity in Korea. Instead of being forced to leave right after graduation, you can remain here and actively pursue your career. Just remember, it's a temporary stepping stone. You'll use this visa to hopefully transition to an E7 work visa or maybe an F2 later. Make the most of those 6-24 months. Network, improve your skills, and apply. Slide 10. D10 visa. Required documents and activities continuing with the D10 visa. Let's integrate what documents you need and what activities you're allowed to do. To give you a full picture of life on a D10 required documents for D10, recap and detail. When applying, you'll need to submit a packet of documents to immigration. Here's a breakdown. Job seeking plan. A detailed form where you outline your strategy. For example, you might write, I plan to apply to tech companies in Seoul, attend job fairs, improve my TOPIK score to level 5, and network through my university's alumni. They want to see you have a thought-out approach, graduation certificate, proof that you've completed your degree, or a certificate of expected graduation if you applied just before finishing. Academic records, your transcripts that show your majors and grades. This just supports your qualifications. Language proficiency proof, your TOPIK score report, if you've achieved, say, TOPIK level 4 or above, or KIP completion certificate. For new grads, as I mentioned, TOPIK 4 can waive some requirements. For instance, recently they've allowed some new grads with TOPIK 4 to get D10 without needing work experience. If you don't have this, it's okay, but your D10 might be shorter initially. Financial proof, bank statement, or other proof that you have enough money to live on while in Korea. Typically, showing around W10 million or more in your account, roughly enough for a year's living expenses, is recommended. The more the better. It assures them you won't work illegally out of financial desperation. Experience certificates. If you've done internships, part-time work, or anything relevant, include letters or certificates from those employers. For example, a letter saying you interned at Company X for 3 months can strengthen your case by showing you're employable. These documents not only get you the visa, but can also be useful when you actually apply to jobs, so having them organized is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Permitted activities on D10. Now, what can you do once you have the D10? We touched on this, but I'll detail with a few examples. Internships. You can intern in fields related to the professional visa categories, like fields that would qualify for an E7 later. For instance, interning at a tech startup or research lab is fine. You can't intern forever though. Maximum 1 year total, and no more than 6 months at one company. So you could do 2 6-month internships at different places. Part-time work. This is allowed only if you have fairly high Korean proficiency, TOPIK 4 or KIP 4, and if you got your degree in Korea. If so, you might, for example, work a few hours a week as a lab assistant or in a startup while searching for a full-time job. If you don't meet the language requirement, They expect you to use your time for job hunting or studying, not working side gigs, job searching. This is obvious but important. Attending job interviews, career fairs, networking events, visiting companies, etc. is fully allowed and expected. If an immigration officer ever asks, you should be ready to show evidence of these, like interview invitation emails, etc. when extending the visa. Startup preparation, D10-2. If you declare that you're aiming to start a business, you can engage in business planning, market research, finding investors or partners. For example, you could be developing a prototype or attending startup meetups. There are even government incubator programs, like Oasis, which we'll discuss later, that you can join on a D10 academic activities. You can also use this time to further your qualifications, like taking additional courses, attending job-related seminars or conferences. For example, maybe you take a short coding bootcamp or a Korean language class. Those are fine on D10, just can't enroll in a full new degree program without switching visas. In essence, the D10 is quite flexible, as long as whatever you're doing feeds into your goal of getting employed or creating a business. It's not a tourist visa or a work visa. It's specifically for transitioning to the next stage of your career. Real-world note. There is talk that from 2025, they might extend D10 validity up to 3 years, or give more leeway if you show strong progress. This reflects Korea's need for talent. They realize sometimes 2 years isn't enough to land a good job, especially if the economy is slow. So keep an eye on policy changes. But fundamentally, use your D10 time wisely. Improve your Korean, network, maybe volunteer or intern, and apply to as many relevant jobs as you can. The clock is ticking, but with 2 years you can achieve a lot if you're focused. Transition comment. Alright, so that covers life after graduation when you're in job hunting mode. Next, let's assume you found a great job. What's the visa for that? Enter the E7 work visa. Slide 11. E7 work visa, realities and challenges. So you've landed a job offer, fantastic. The visa you'll likely need is the E7 professional work visa. This is the main pathway for international graduates who want to work long-term in Korea for a company. But I'm going to be honest, the transition from student D2 or D10 to professional E7 is one of the most challenging jumps. Korea sets a high bar for issuing E7 visas to fresh graduates. Let's talk about why E7. Overview. The E7 is designed for skilled professionals in specialized fields. The government has a list of about 85 designated occupations that qualify for E7 visas. These include fields like IT, engineering, natural sciences, certain business roles, arts and entertainment, etc. If your job offer is not in one of those recognized categories, you can't get an E7. This is the first challenge: occupational limitations. Many generic entry-level jobs, like a general office assistant or a non-specialized role, do not qualify even if a company is willing to hire you. For example, a basic administrative job or a simple sales position wouldn't cut it. It has to be something that presumably requires your specific skills or degree. Salary requirements. Next big hurdle: strict salary thresholds. Korea requires that your job offer pays above a certain minimum salary to ensure you're truly a skilled professional hire. As of 2025, those minimums are pegged to the national income level, GNI per capita. For a standard E7-1 professional, the offer must be at least around W28.7 million per year, roughly 24K USD, though exchange rates vary. For some technical or semi-professional roles, slightly different thresholds apply, like W25 million for certain trades, W26 million for skilled workers. The key point: many entry-level positions in Korea for new grads pay below these thresholds. If a typical Korean grad is hired at W24 million a year for a job, that same job cannot be given to you on an E7 because it fails the salary requirement. So often, to hire a foreigner, companies have to offer a higher salary than they might a local new grad. This can make them hesitate unless they really need you. Employer sponsorship hurdles. Even if your job and salary qualify, the company has to go through some hoops. They must prove to immigration, "We need to hire this foreigner because we couldn't find a local with these skills or qualities." They submit documents about their business and justify your hiring. If it's the company's first time sponsoring an E7, the process is even more complex for them. Some employers simply shy away because they're unfamiliar with the paperwork or fear the visa might be denied. Larger companies or those who have hired foreigners before are usually more comfortable and have the infrastructure to do it. Smaller companies might worry about the effort or the scrutiny of immigration, checking their finances and compliance. Company requirements. Immigration will check the company's health. They look at things like the firm's revenue, capital, number of Korean employees, etc., to ensure the business is stable enough to hire a foreigner. They also prefer companies that have a track record of hiring foreigners or that are a certain size. E.g., startups can hire foreigners, but a tiny company with no history might get more questions. The job you're filling should match the company's field. For instance, if you studied IT and the company is a software firm, great. If you studied IT but a kindergarten wants to hire you as an English teacher, that doesn't line up with E7 criteria. Also, that would be an E2 visa scenario, not E7. Tax compliance is checked too. The company must have paid all its taxes and social insurance properly. Any red flag on the company's end can sink your visa. Reality check. I don't want to sound discouraging. Many of our students do get E7 visas and start rewarding careers here. But it often takes extra effort. You might need to negotiate salary. Maybe start as an intern first or target companies known to hire foreigners. Also, certain fields are more open. For example, jobs in high-tech, engineering or research are more likely to meet conditions. Teaching or standard admin jobs are trickier. One strategy some use: get a higher degree or some specialized certification to stand out, or aim for the points-based F2 residency. We'll cover that after a few years, which gives more freedom. Relatable commentary. Picture this: you got a great job offer at a startup, but they offer $2.1 million a month, $25 million a year. That's a decent entry salary, but immigration might say, nope, not enough for E7. You might have to negotiate to bump it slightly over the threshold or look for a company that can pay a bit more. It's a balancing act. The main message is be aware of these challenges so you can strategize, perhaps by improving your Korean, which makes you more valuable. Focusing on in-demand job skills and targeting the right employers. Slide 12. E7 visa, salary thresholds and company. Criteria. Let's delve a bit more into those E7 requirements, specifically the minimum salary you need and what kind of company can sponsor you. These are critical for visa approval, so knowing them helps you evaluate job offers. 2025. Minimum salary thresholds. The government sets minimum salary requirements for E7 visas and updates them periodically, often annually. For 2025, the key figures are E7-1 professional roles, $28.67 million per year or higher. This category covers jobs like researchers, IT engineers, university instructors, etc. Basically, roles requiring a high level of expertise, E7-2, E7-3, semi-professional, skilled trades, $25.15 million per year or higher. These might be roles that are still specialized, but maybe not as high level as E7-1 jobs. E7-2 and E7-3 are subcategories often for certain government-designated talent or specific agreements. But for simplicity, just note the salary band. E7-4, special cases of skilled workers, $26.0 million per year or higher. E7-4 is a program for skilled workers who have worked in Korea in another status, like some who came on E9 then qualified for E7. The salary requirement is slightly different as you see. These numbers are pegged to about 70–80% of Korea's GNI, gross national income, per capita, and they tend to increase each year as the GNI rises. So what's enough this year might not be enough in a couple of years. Also, the full offered salary must be documented on official tax forms, eventually. You can't say, oh, we'll pay lower now and then maybe bonus later. Immigration looks at the official annual salary. If you're offered a job with pay in the low 20 millions W, that's likely insufficient for E7. You'd want something at least mid-20s or above. Sometimes small companies might offer a lower salary with perks, but perks don't count. Only the salary on paper counts. Qualifying company characteristics. Immigration also scrutinizes the employer. Here are some factors. Financial stability. The company should be financially healthy. They may need to submit financial statements. Immigration wants to be sure the company can actually pay your salary and isn't on the verge of bankruptcy. Prior foreign hire experience. If the company has sponsored foreign employees before and succeeded, that's a plus. It shows they know the process and presumably had legitimate need. If you're the very first foreigner, it's not a deal breaker, but the company might need extra convincing documentation. Business scale. Larger companies or well-established ones face less scrutiny. If you're getting hired by, say, Samsung or a big firm, immigration won't worry as much. If it's a tiny startup with 3 employees, they might ask, why do they need a foreigner? Can they support this hire? Not that small companies can't hire foreigners, they can, but the bar to prove necessity is a bit higher. Industry relevance. Your role must align with what the company actually does. If a company is an IT software firm, hiring you as a software developer makes sense. If that same company suddenly wants to hire you as a chef, that's unrelated and would not fly. Immigration examines if your job matches the company's profile and core business. Tax and legal compliance. The company must be up to date on all taxes, pension, insurances, etc. If the company has any record of violating labor laws or not paying taxes, that could derail the visa application. This is something mostly the company worries about, but it's good for you to know. You might want to join companies that are in good standing. If a company has shady practices, it could hurt your visa or later your own standing. Tip for applicants. When you get a job offer, don't be shy to discuss visa sponsorship with the employer. Some Korean HR departments might not know the latest rules, so you might have to inform them tactfully, like, by the way, for my E7 visa, the salary needs to be at least X. Could we make sure that condition is met? Or have you sponsored a visa before? I can help provide the needed documents. It shows you're proactive and informed. If the employer can't meet a requirement, like salary too low or job not on the occupation list, you may need to reconsider or negotiate. Anecdote. One of our alumni got an offer from a small design firm. She realized the salary was just below the cutoff. She negotiated a slight raise by explaining it was necessary for her visa, and the company agreed because they really wanted to hire her. She got the E7 and is happily employed now. The moral is know the requirements and don't be afraid to address them. This proactive approach can make the difference in securing your E7 visa smoothly. Slide 13. Income. Recognition for visa purposes. Let's shift gears a bit to a topic that becomes very important once you're working: how your income is recognized by Korean immigration. It might sound dry, but how much money you officially make and report can affect things like visa renewals, qualifying for certain visas like F2 or F5, etc. The way Korea counts your income for visas can be different from what you think you earn, because different types of income are calculated differently. So let's break it down. Why income matters. For many visa pathways beyond the student stage, E7, F2 residency, F5, etc., there are income requirements or at least expectations. For example, to get an F27 points-based resident visa, or to renew an E7, you need to show a certain level of income. Immigration will look at your income documents to decide if you meet the threshold. Not all income is treated equally. Some income counts fully, some gets a discount in the eyes of immigration. If you misunderstand this, you might think you're earning enough while immigration's calculation says you're not. Earned income, gyunrosadog. This is your standard salary or wages from an employer, where taxes are typically withheld by the company. If you have a regular full-time job and get a payslip every month, that's earned income. Immigration counts 100% of your gross earnings for visas. Gross meaning before tax deductions. So if your contract says W30 million a year, immigration considers you as having W30 million income for that year, even though your take-home after tax is less. Earned income is the gold standard in their eyes. It's straightforward, documented on your tax slip with year-end tax settlement papers. For visa purposes, a stable salary job is ideal because it's fully recognized and easy to prove. Strategic advice. If possible, try to maintain a stable job when you're nearing a visa application that needs income proof, like F2 or F5. Jumping to freelance or taking a low salary route might complicate things. Properly documented salary is your friend. Also, if you have multiple jobs or streams of income, note that immigration will see the breakdown. It's okay to have multiple sources, but make sure the main one is a standard job if you're aiming for certain visas. They prefer to see that you're not solely relying on irregular income. Comprehensive income, Yonghab Sodug. This refers to income from freelance work, business income if you're self-employed, or things like investment income, etc. Many of our international graduates eventually do some freelance or start a small business. Here's the catch. Immigration counts only the post-deduction income for these sources. In Korea, if you're a freelancer or business owner, you can deduct a lot of expenses when filing taxes, office rent, equipment, travel, etc. While that's great for paying lower taxes, it means your official reported income, Sodugumeg Jungmyeong, might be much lower than what you actually earned. For example, maybe you had W50 million in freelance contracts in a year, but after deducting expenses, your taxable income is W20 million. Immigration will see W20M as your income. If a visa requires W30 million income, you'd fall short despite actually making enough due to deductions. They rely on an official document called the Sodugumeg Jungmyeongso, Income Amount Certificate, issued by the National Tax Service to judge your income. This is the paper that shows how much income you declared for the year. It is the final authority for visa decisions on income. They don't care about bank statements or invoice totals, only what's on that tax certificate. Strategic advice. If you're self-employed or freelancing and you plan to apply for a visa that needs a high income, consider limiting your expense deductions or structuring your income to show higher on that certificate for a couple of years. It sounds odd. Basically, you pay a bit more tax but show higher income to immigration. Heavy expense deductions can dramatically lower your recognized income. Also, you might combine income types. Say you have a part-time salary job counted fully and part freelance. Ensure the main chunk is salary if possible during visa critical periods. Official documentation. As mentioned, the Sodugumeg Jungmyeongso, income certificate, from the tax office is crucial. When you apply for something like an F2 or F5, immigration will often ask for this document to verify your income. It shows the income you reported in Korea for that tax year. Make sure each year you file taxes properly and get this document. It's in Korean, but essentially line total income amount is what immigration looks at. No matter what you claim, this is the number they trust. So always report your earnings. Under-reporting to save a little tax could hurt your visa prospects later. Example scenario. Let's say you run a small online business on the side while also doing an internship. You made a lot in sales, but after deducting costs, your official income is low. If next year you want to apply for an F2 visa that requires, say, W30M annual income, you might not qualify. On the other hand, your friend worked at a company for W35M salary. He qualifies easily because he's full T. Slide 14. Importance of Korean language proficiency. Topic and Kyip. We've hinted at Korean language requirements throughout, and now let's focus on that. Korean language proficiency is a crucial factor at every stage of your visa journey. The government has intentionally woven language requirements into most visa pathways. Why? They want foreign residents who can integrate into society, and language is key to integration. For your career too, speaking Korean opens up many more opportunities. So let's break down how topic and Kyip come into play. Integration of language requirements. If you look at the visa rules, to get permission for part-time work on D2, you needed topic 3 or 4 for full hours. For D10, they expect topic 4 for new grads. For E7, while there's no formal topic needed, having Korean skills definitely helps in job hunting. For F2, points-based, you get a lot of extra points for higher topic levels. For F5, permanent residency, a certain Korean level is mandatory unless exempt. In short, higher Korean proficiency opens more doors. You can work more hours as a student. You earn more points for the F2 visa, and you meet prerequisites for F5 or citizenship. For example, achieving topic level 5 or 6 advanced could give you a big boost in the F27 point system and is often near the level needed for F5 permanent residency. The Korea Immigration and Integration Program, KEP, Level 5 certificate similarly is highly valued. It can even waive certain requirements like the citizenship test on interview if you go that far. Work permission and language. On the practical side, remember how TOPIK or KIP level could expand your allowed work hours on D2 up to 35 hours in week for grad students. Also, having TOPIK 4 made you eligible for part-time work on D10. So even during student years or job seeking, language helps you legally work more. F2, F5 visas and language. Most long-term visas require Korean ability, F2 7 points. The higher your TOPIK level, the more points you score. TOPIK 6 or KIP level 5 gives you the maximum language points in that system, F2 99, long-term resident. Requires at least TOPIK level 3 or KIP level 4 as a basic requirement, F5, permanent resident. Typically requires TOPIK level 4 or 5, or KIP level 5 depending on the route. One exception, PhD holders from Korean universities can get exempted from the language requirement for F5, but that's a special case. Naturalization, citizenship. KIP. Level 5 can waive the citizenship language test and interview because completing KIP includes a culture course and test. What are TOPIK and KIP? TOPIK stands for Test of Proficiency in Korean. It's a standardized test like TOEFL, but for Korean, and it has 6 levels. Levels 1 to 2 basic, 3 to 4 intermediate, 5 to 6 advanced. It's purely language-focused. Reading, writing, listening, grammar, etc. It's widely recognized by employers and schools. KIP, K-I-I-P, stands for Korea Immigration and Integration Program. It's not just a test, but a series of government-sponsored classes that combine Korean language education with cultural, social and legal orientation for life in Korea. There are levels 0 through 5, where level 5 is the highest, roughly equivalent to high intermediate Korean ability. KIP includes understanding of Korean culture, history and laws, things that help you integrate beyond just speaking the language. At the end of level 5, there's a final exam and ceremony, and you get a completion certificate. TOPIK versus KIP. Which to choose? Some visa requirements let you submit either TOPIK or KIP. For example, F27 accepts TOPIK scores or KIP completion for the language points. KIP often provides broader benefits. Completing KIP level 5 can waive naturalization tests as mentioned, and it's directly looked upon favorably by immigration since it's their program. TOPIK is more academically oriented and might be faster if you're just good at test taking. If you want to earn extra points or satisfy visa conditions, you can choose either in cases like F2, but note that KIP completion can sometimes substitute for TOPIK where needed, and even give you a bit of an edge because it covers integration aspects. My advice, if you plan to stay in Korea long-term, start working on your Korean now, while you're still a student. Don't put it off until you need a TOPIK certificate for a visa application. Reaching TOPIK 4 or higher can take some time, so better to do it when you have the school support and possibly lighter stakes. You can register for free or subsidized KIP classes on socinet.go.kr, Social Integration Network. Classes are often in the evenings or weekends to accommodate students and workers. Many of our international students have found KIP classes really helpful. You meet other expats and learn systematically. Alternatively, schedule a TOPIK exam attempt at least a year before you plan to apply for a visa that needs it, in case you need multiple tries. Encouraging perspective. Learning Korean might feel like a big task on top of your degree, but think of it as an investment. Not only will it help you with visas, but daily life becomes easier, and you'll connect more with people here. Plus, employers love seeing a TOPIK certificate. It signals you can handle a Korean work environment. The bottom line, language is power in navigating visa pathways. The sooner and higher you climb in TOPIK or KIP levels, the more options and benefits open up for you in Korea. Slide 15, TOPIK versus KIP, comparison and visa benefits. Let's directly compare. TOPIK, Test of Proficiency in Korean, and KIP, Korea Immigration and Integration Program, to see their differences and how each can benefit you in the visa process. TOPIK, Test of Proficiency in Korean. It's a standardized language test with levels 1 through 6. TOPIK 1 is beginner. TOPIK 6 is fluent, advanced. It's widely recognized for academic and professional purposes. For example, Korean universities may require TOPIK for admission, and some companies might ask for it to gauge your Korean skill. TOPIK is purely about language. It tests reading, listening, and writing. If you're good at self-study and test-taking, This might be a straightforward way to prove your Korean ability. KIP, Korea Immigration and Integration Program. KIP is a curriculum of courses, levels 0 to 5, that combines language training with cultural and civic education. It's specifically designed for helping foreigners integrate. Level 5 is the highest level in KIP, roughly corresponding to an upper intermediate advanced language ability and knowledge of Korean society. The program covers more than just language. You learn about Korean culture, history, law, and everyday life, which TOPIK doesn't cover. Completing KIP Level 5 means you've passed a comprehensive exam and attended a certain number of hours of classes. It's a commitment, but it signals to the government that you're serious about living in Korea. Key differences. Content. TOPIK. Korean language only. KIP, born Korean language, plus integration topics. Format. TOPIK is an exam you can study for on your own. KIP requires attending classes, online or offline, and then passing tests at each level. Outcome. TOPIK gives you a score-level certificate. KIP gives you certificates at each level and a final completion certificate at Level 5 usage. Both are accepted for many visa requirements, but certain benefits are unique to KIP. For example, KIP Level 5 waives the citizenship test as mentioned, whereas TOPIK alone won't waive it, because TOPIK doesn't teach you about Korean civics. Also, the F2 7-point system might give the same points for TOPIK 6 or KIP 5, but the F2 99 long-term residence explicitly requires KIP 4 or TOPIK 3. Note KIP 4 is slightly more advanced than TOPIK 3. They don't align perfectly in difficulty, but they treat them as equivalents for that rule. Visa benefit summary by level. Imagine a quick chart in speaking form. Beginner level, TOPIK 1-2 or KIP 1-2. At this level, you're still very basic. Visa impact. On a student D2, if you only have this, you'd likely be limited to minimal work hours, around 10 hours a week. It shows you have some Korean ability, but not enough to get extra privileges. Intermediate level, TOPIK 3-4 or KIP 3-4. This is a key threshold. Reaching TOPIK 3 or 4, or completing KIP 3-4, can significantly expand what you can do. Visa impact. As a student, you get expanded part-time work hours, up to 20-30 hours a week instead of 10. On a D10 job seeker, TOPIK 4 is effectively required to do any part-time work or internships freely. For residency, TOPIK 4 or KIP 4 meets the minimum language requirement for F299, long-term resident. Also, with intermediate level, you can comfortably interview in Korean for jobs, which indirectly helps you secure that E7 advanced level, TOPIK 5-6 or KIP 5. Now you're in the high proficiency zone. Visa impact. This meets the language requirement for F5 permanent residency. They usually ask for TOPIK 5 or KIP 5. It also gives you the maximum language points for F2 7. For instance, TOPIK 6 or KIP 5 yields a lot of points towards the 80-point requirement. KIP 5 in particular has those special perks. It waives the citizenship exam interview if you go for naturalization, and it's sometimes viewed as proof of integration for the faster F5 routes. In everyday life at advanced level, you can work in Korean companies with relative ease, and even take on roles that require Korean fluency. Special KIP benefits. Recap KIP Level 4. This satisfies the language requirement for F299, which is an easier resident visa to get after 5 years. A KIP Level 5 waives the Korean language test and interview if you apply for citizenship, naturalization, KIP in general. Completing KIP can sometimes be looked upon more favorably in subjective evaluations because it shows you learned about Korean society, not just language. Also, in the F2 7-point system, KIP Level 5 can actually give Slide 16, F2 resident visas, pathways to long-term stay. Moving on to visas that allow you to live in Korea more freely, the F2 resident visas. Think of an F2 as a bridge between a work visa, like E7, and permanent residency, F5. It grants you much more flexibility in Korea. With an F2, you're not tied to a specific employer. You can change jobs or even do your own business without needing a new visa each time. It's a coveted status for those planning a long-term life here. We'll discuss two main types of F2 visas that international students or grads aim for. F27, points-based resident, and F299, long-term resident. Why F2? Both F27 and F299 let you work in any field, or even start a business without needing separate permission. They're typically valid for 3 years at a time and are renewable with relatively simpler requirements than E7 renewals. They also put you on track for F5 permanent residency eventually. Essentially, an F2 gives you a semi-permanent status. You're still a foreign national, but with local privileges, almost like a green card status. F27, points-based resident visa. This one uses a points system out of 120 points to decide if you qualify. You need to score 80 points or more. Points are awarded in categories such as age. There's an ideal age range, like 30s get the most points since you're considered economically active. Younger 20s or older 40s get a bit fewer. Education. Having a master's or PhD, especially from a Korean university, yields higher points. Bachelors get standard points. Income. The more you earn, the more points. If your annual income is high, particularly above the national average, you score more. Korean language ability, TOPIK or KIP levels convert to points. For instance, TOPIK 6 or KIP level 5 gives you the maximum language points. Additional points. You can get extra for things like volunteer service, published research or certain achievements, some specific skilled professions, etc. Typical profile for F27. Many people who go for this are those who have worked in Korea on an E-series visa, like E7, for a few years. In fact, usually you're expected to have at least 3 years on a professional visa, E1 to E7, before applying, though in practice, some get it slightly earlier if points are high, but 3 years is a guide. The idea is you've proven yourself as a professional here. If you're a recent grad, you likely won't qualify immediately unless you have an extraordinary profile, like a PhD at a young age, high topic, high-income job, which is rare for a newbie. So F27 is often a mid-term goal. Work a few years, rack up a good salary and TOPIK score, then apply. Once you have 80+ points and meet the basic conditions, no criminal record, etc., you can get the F27. It's valid for 3 years and you must maintain certain conditions to renew, like continue to meet a point threshold. But it's usually lower for renewal than initial 80, F299, long-term resident. Visa. This is sometimes called the long-term residence or just general F2. No point system here. No scoring. Instead, it has some straightforward requirements, plus years of continuous legal residence in Korea. This means you have lived in Korea on qualifying visas for at least 5 years. Qualifying visas typically include D2, D10, E7, etc., and time can accumulate. Time on student D2 does count, albeit sometimes at half weight for certain things, but for F299 it usually counts fully as long as continuous. Continuous means you didn't have long breaks outside Korea. Basic Korean language ability, usually TOPIK level 3 or KIP level 4, not as high as F27 demands for full points, but you have to show moderate proficiency. Basic income financial stability. They might require you show a certain income or assets to prove you can support yourself. It's generally a lower bar than F27's implied high income. It might be something like exceeding a minimum yearly income, could be around the level of Korea's GNI per capita, or some fraction of it. Having a stable job or savings works. Clean record. No criminal record. No serious immigration violations. Compliance. You followed immigration laws, reported address changes, no overstays, etc. F299 basically rewards those who have stuck around and integrated decently. It's like saying, you've been here 5 years, you speak some Korean, you can support yourself. Okay, you can have a long-term resident status. Comparing F27 and F299 to speed, F27 can be faster, as little as 3 years on an e-visa, and you could get it if you score enough points. F299 mandates 5 years. Criteria. F27 is merit-based, points for achievements, salary, etc. F299 is tenure-based, how long you stayed, with basic integration checks. Benefits. Both give similar benefits once you have them, freedom to work anywhere, 3-year visa validity renewable. Renewal. F27 renewal requires you to maintain points to some extent, not drop off completely in income or something. F299 renewal is quite easy, since it's basically you just keep living here and avoid issues. A big thing. Both F27 and F299 can lead to F5 permanent residency. In fact, F27 is considered a faster track. After 3 years on F27, you become eligible for F5. Whereas if you go the F299 route, you typically still need a total of 5 years residence, which you already have upon getting F299, plus a few more conditions to apply for F5. Actually, often people with F299 apply for F5 after they hit about 5 years. Some might need a bit more depending on when exactly they switched. But practically, F27 could get you to F5 sooner, because you started that route at year 3, and by year 6 you have F5, whereas F299 you start at year 5, and maybe get F5 by year 7 or 8. It's a bit technical, but that's the idea of faster track versus regular, guidance for planning. Consider which path suits you. If you are a high achiever, great job, good salary, topic 5 or 6, maybe still young, aim for F27 when you qualify. It could reward your hard work with an earlier resident status. If you're not hitting those 80 points, don't worry. Just keep building your life here and after 5 years go for F299. Either way, these F2 visas are wonderful because once you have them, you're not tethered to the types of limitations we discussed for E7. You can truly pursue the career or lifestyle you want in Korea, whether it's changing jobs, starting a side business or what have you. And you'll be en route to permanent residency if that's your end goal. Slide 17, F5. Permanent residency, pathways. Now let's talk about the big one, F5, permanent residency. The F5 visa grants you permanent resident status in Korea, which comes with most of the rights of a Korean citizen, minus voting and a few things like holding public office. It's essentially a forever visa. Once you get it, you don't need to renew visas regularly. Though the card itself might need renewal every 10 years or so, it's mostly formality. You can live and work in Korea indefinitely with an F5. There are multiple pathways to F5, and the government offers different routes depending on your background, how long you've lived here, your education level, etc. I'll break down a few key pathways relevant to international students and grads. Time-based route, general permanent residency, F5-1. The most straightforward route. Reside in Korea for 5+ years continuously on eligible visas, eligible meaning work visas E1, E7, or F2, etc. Basically not tourist or student. Time on student can count, but usually you need some time on work resident visa too. If you've done that, you need to show stable income. They'll likely check that your income is above a certain threshold, similar to the F299 requirement or higher. Korean language proficiency, typically TOPIK level 4 or KIP level 5. They want fairly advanced integration for PR, no criminal record. Good conduct. Any major violations could disqualify. So one example. You studied 2 years on D2, then worked 3 years on E7, that's 5 years. If you have TOPIK 4 and steady income, you could apply for F5 under this general rule. Many people get F5 this way after fulfilling their 5 years. Points-based F5, F510. This is essentially designed for those who held the F27, points-based resident, for at least 3 years. It's a faster track since normally it might take 5 years. But if you've proven yourself under the F27 system, after 3 years on F27, you can apply for F5. You'll need to maintain a high point score, maybe not full 80, but they expect you kept meeting renewal criteria. KIP level 5 completion or equivalent is required here. They specifically emphasize KIP 5 because permanent residents should be well integrated. If you didn't do KIP, TOPIK 5 could be equivalent in some cases, but KIP 5 often is highlighted. This route rewards those who've already proven integration, meaning if you managed F27, you likely have good Korean, good income, etc. So they let you jump to PR quicker. Advanced degree route, academic qualification routes. Korea has special leniencies for highly educated individuals, especially if your degree is from Korea or in a needed field, PhD advantage. If you have a PhD, a doctorate, from a Korean university, or even a PhD from overseas in a high-tech or strategically important field, you can apply for F5 after just 1 year of full-time work in Korea in your field. That's huge. It dramatically cuts the residency requirement. Also, PhD holders in these categories are exempt from the Korean language requirement for F5. The logic being, if you got a PhD here or are a top expert, they make language optional for PR. So for example, if you earn a PhD in engineering from KAIST, a top Korean uni, and then work 12 months in a Korean company, you could directly go for F5. This is to attract and retain top talent. Masters, bachelors in needed fields, if you have a car. Slide 18. D8 Startup Visa. Tech entrepreneurship in Korea, shifting focus to a different kind of opportunity. Starting your own business in Korea. If you have an entrepreneurial dream, Korea has the D8 series visas for investors and startup founders. Specifically for tech entrepreneurs, the D8-4 startup visa is a popular route. South Korea actively encourages foreign entrepreneurs, especially in technology and innovation sectors, to launch startups here. Let's break down how you can go from a student or graduate to a startup founder with a visa to match. Overview of D8-4 Tech Startup Visa. This visa is tailored for those who want to establish a company in Korea in a technology or innovative field. The government provides support through programs like OASIS, Overall Assistance for Startup Immigration System. To help foreigners navigate this, oasisvisa.com. If you have a solid idea in areas like AI, biotech, renewable energy, semiconductors, or any high-tech industry, Korea is interested in giving you a chance. Process, 2 phases. Often, there's a 2-step process, D10-2, preparatory startup phase. If you're fresh out of university with a startup idea, you might first switch to a D10-2, which is a subtype of the job seeker visa, specifically for those preparing a startup. This gives you time, up to 2 years in D10 as we said, to develop your business plan, do market research, maybe join a Korean startup incubator, and crucially, work on meeting the requirements for the D8 startup visa, D8-4 startup visa proper. Once you're ready to officially start the business, you have a business plan, some funding, perhaps a Korean business partner or office. You can apply for D8-4. This visa is initially maybe 1 year, extendable as your business progresses. Key requirements for D8-4 education and experience. You typically need to have a relevant educational background or experience in the field of your startup. There's a points-based qualification in evaluating your startup application. They'll consider your education level, work experience, Korean language ability, and the quality of your business plan. Essentially, you pitch both yourself and your idea. Business plan. You must present a solid business plan. If you go through OASIS or a startup incubator, they'll help refine this. The plan should show innovation and potential growth. Investment capital. A common requirement is a minimum investment of $100 million, about 80–90K USD into the business. This could be your own funds or from investors. The government has some flexibility for tech startups. Sometimes they allow less if you have high potential or got accepted into a prestigious incubator, but $100M is a ballpark. This capital needs to be registered for the company. Company formation. You will need to register a legal entity in Korea, most likely a private limited company. This involves paperwork like articles of incorporation, etc. A lot of startup visa folks get help from agencies or the startup support centers to do this. Office space. Often you need a lease for an office or business location as part of the application, even if it's a co-working space in a startup hub. Fast track options. Korea offers some fast tracks. If you're a graduate of a Korean university with a tech startup idea, they often give you easier access. For example, some universities have startup support that connects you with OASIS programs. OASIS program. This program provides training, courses on starting a business in Korea, law, etc., and can grant you additional points or even direct endorsement for the visa. If you complete certain OASIS levels, you might not need the full W100M, or you get waivers on some criteria. Innovation track. The government likes startups that align with national priorities like AI, biotech, green energy. If your business is in one of these focus areas, and especially if it shows you'll create local jobs. You could get not just the visa, but also potential grants or investor matching, benefits and incentives. Accelerated PR. Successful startup founders can qualify for expedited permanent residency, F5. For instance, if your startup does well, maybe reaches a certain revenue or job creation target, you could be granted F5 in a shorter time as an incentive to stay and continue contributing. Job creation. If your startup creates jobs for Koreans, immigration and other agencies look very favorably on that. It might help in extending your D8 visa or in getting PR later. It's basically proof that your business benefits Korea government support. As a D8 visa holder, you often get access to various support programs, incubators, providing office space and mentorship, funding opportunities like grants or startup competitions, and networks of investors. For example, there are startup campuses like one in Pangyo or in Seoul Global Startup Center that host many foreign startups, oasis and integration. There is even mention of special integration benefits for those with advanced degrees in strategic industries. This suggests that if you, say, hold a master's in biotech and start a biotech company, the Oasis program might pave a smoother path to long-term residency. Example scenario. Imagine you and a friend have an idea for a new AI-driven app. You graduate, switch to D102 to work on it, join an incubator, Oasis, where you attend classes and get a small grant. You incorporate your startup, gather W50M from your savings and W50M from an angel investor. Now you have W100M capital. You apply for D84, show them your tech credentials, your business plan, and that capital in the bank. They give you the D8 visa. You hire 2 Korean teammates, which helps you later. And if in a couple of years your business is stable, you can even apply for F5 under an entrepreneur category. It's a challenging path, startups are not easy anywhere, but Korea truly is encouraging about this now. If you have that entrepreneurial spark, definitely explore this route. You get to be your own boss, and Korea gets innovation and jobs, a win-win if it succeeds. And remember, you're not alone. There are resources, foreign entrepreneur communities, and government programs rooting for your success in the startup ecosystem. Slide 19. Real visa violation cases and penalties. We've talked a lot about what to do. Now a cautionary tale on what not to do. In this section, we'll look at real or realistic cases of visa violations by international students and the consequences they faced. It might sound scary, but I want to highlight these so that you understand how even seemingly minor infractions can seriously impact your future in Korea. Korean immigration laws are strict, and enforcement is getting more sophisticated. Case 1. Overworking on a student visa, cafe worker. An international student was permitted 25 hours a week, but actually worked 45 hours a week at a cafe, thinking the extra hours would go unnoticed. Unfortunately for him, this was caught during a tax audit. His employer reported wages that didn't match the allowed hours. Consequence, he was fined around W3 million and had to make multiple immigration office visits, disrupting his studies. He eventually managed to stay and finish his semester, but this violation remains on his record. Case 2. Illegal private tutoring. A D2 student started giving private English lessons to local children for cash. This is explicitly prohibited without the right visa. How did they catch him? After a payment dispute with a parent, the disgruntled parent reported him to immigration. Consequence, this student got deported and slapped with a 3-year ban on re-entry to Korea. Essentially, his academic career in Korea ended abruptly after 2 years of study. He couldn't complete his degree. That's a heavy price for some tutoring money. Case 3. Working for a delivery app. Another student figured doing food deliveries via a popular app wouldn't be noticed, since it's just you and your motorbike. But immigration has agreements to share data with such platforms. This student worked as a delivery rider without permission, and his info popped up in a digital data cross-check. Consequence, he got a W1.5 million fine, which is painful but not the worst part. A couple of years later, after graduating, he applied for an E7 work visa and got rejected because of his prior violation. Even though he had a qualifying job offer, immigration saw the dishonesty record and turned him down. It shows violations can haunt you later when you try to upgrade your visa. Case 4. Bar entertainment work. A graduate student took up a job at a bar in Gangnam, an area known for nightlife, which falls under forbidden entertainment jobs for students. Immigration sometimes conducts surprise inspections at such venues. She was caught in a raid. Consequence: her visa status was downgraded to a 3-month probationary status, kind of like a warning period. Her scholarship was also cancelled as a result, since she breached the conditions. She had to really fight to regain good standing and almost faced deportation. Case 5. Working without any permit, no permission case. One student arrived and immediately started working off campus with no permit at all. He didn't wait the required period or apply. Maybe he didn't know or ignored it. Immigration found out possibly through a verification call to the employer or a random check. Consequence: he got a formal warning in his immigration file, and later, when he applied for an F27 points visa, it was rejected due to that record of dishonesty. They literally cited his prior violation as a reason he wasn't integrating law-abidingly. So even though he met the points, his earlier mistake shut the door. How violations are detected? You might wonder, how would they know? Well, the system is indeed increasingly sophisticated. Tax records. If you or your employer report taxes, or even if your employer secretly pays you if they deduce. Slide 20. Visa renewal and status change. Key guidelines for international students in Korea introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Today's seminar covers the essential guidelines for visa renewal and status change for international students in South Korea. Understanding the proper procedures for renewing your visa and changing your status is crucial to maintaining your legal status in Korea. Timely application and correct documentation are critical. Renewing on time will help you avoid any interruption in your stay. Renewal. Timing and application methods. Always renew your visa on time. You can submit a renewal application as early as 60 days before your current visa expires, and you have up until the expiration date to file the application. However, it's wise not to wait until the last minute. Where do you apply? If you're a student, you may apply through your university's International Student Office, or you can go directly to an immigration office. Many visa types also allow online renewal through the Hi Korea website. These options make the process more accessible, but the key is to start early and ensure you meet the deadline. Critical warnings. Let me emphasize some critical warnings to avoid any legal issues. Avoid any gap in your legal status at all costs. Even a single day of overstay is not acceptable. Late renewal applications will result in penalty fees and can place a negative mark on your immigration record, so do not delay your renewal. Also, if your visa allows a stay longer than 1 year, do not leave Korea without a re-entry permit, as doing so may invalidate your visa. Additionally, remember that any change of address must be reported to the authorities within 14 days of moving, or you will face fines. These rules are strictly enforced, so please take them seriously. Required documents. Next, let's review the required documents for a visa renewal. Generally, you will need to prepare the standard set of documents: a completed application form, your passport, your alien registration card (ARC), proof of your current residence in Korea, and the applicable fee payment. The fee can vary by visa type. In addition to these basics, there may be additional documents required depending on your specific visa. For example, students often need to submit academic records or proof of enrollment, while those switching to a work visa might need an employment contract, proof of income, or insurance documents. Always check the exact requirements for your visa category in advance so that you can gather everything you need before you apply. Changing your visa status. Finally, let's discuss the process of changing your visa status. For instance, transitioning from a student visa to a work visa after graduation. Changing visa types. For example, moving from a D2 student visa to a D10 job seeker visa, or subsequently to an E7 work visa, requires you to submit specific documentation for the new visa status. Crucially, you must apply for a status change before your current visa expires to remain in status. If you are graduating or otherwise finishing your current program, you may switch to a D10 visa to look for jobs, and once you find employment, you would switch to the appropriate work visa. In all cases of status change due to graduation, new employment or marriage, you are required to report the change to immigration within 14 days. This 14-day reporting window is very important. Missing it could result in penalties or jeopardize your legal status. In conclusion, staying on top of your visa requirements is a fundamental responsibility during your time in Korea. Renew your visa on time. Start the process up to 60 days in advance and use the available channels, your university office, the immigration office or High Korea, to submit your application. Make sure you have all the required documents ready and be mindful of the critical rules. Never overstay or renew late. Secure a re-entry permit if needed and keep your address updated. If your situation changes, follow the proper procedures to change your visa status promptly. By adhering to these key guidelines, you will ensure a smooth and lawful stay in South Korea. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you found this overview helpful. Slide 21, Conclusion. Practical tips and Q&A. We've covered a lot of ground today, from student visas all the way to permanent residency. To wrap up, here are some practical tips for your long-term career journey in Korea. Master Korean. I can't emphasize this enough. Make Korean language a priority alongside your studies. A higher topic level or completing the KIP program unlocks so many benefits. It gives you extra visa points, lets you work more hours legally as a student, and fulfills requirements for residencies and even citizenship. Plus, it vastly improves your job prospects. Aim for at least topic 4 as a starting goal, then push further if you can. It might be tough, but try to study a bit of Korean each day, or take formal classes. Your future self, the one applying for an F2 or interviewing at a Korean company, will thank you. Build networks early. Don't wait until graduation to start networking. Connections are invaluable in Korea for job hunting. Attend career fairs, join student clubs, go to meetups or networking events in your field, and connect with professors and alumni. If you have Korean classmates, get to know them, in Korean if possible. Referrals can greatly help in finding an E7 sponsor company. Many jobs aren't even advertised publicly, they're filled through recommendations. So build those relationships now while you're a student. Internships, even short ones, can also expand your network and sometimes lead to job offers. Document everything. Keep thorough records of your time here. Save your transcripts, work permission papers, part-time contracts, pay stubs, tax filings, TOPIK KIP certificates, volunteer certificates, basically any official record of your activities and achievements. When it comes time to apply for a new visa or renewal, you often need to produce evidence of things you did years ago. For example, an F27 application might need proof of volunteer work for extra points, or an F5 might require an income certificate for the past few years. If you have all documents organized, the process will be much smoother. Also, track dates. Know when your visa expires, set reminders to renew at least 60 days in advance. Always update your address with immigration within 14 days of moving. That's an easy thing to overlook, but it can cause fines if you don't. Finally, remember, you're not alone in this process. Use the resources available. Your university's International Student Office can guide you through applications and keep you updated on rule changes. The Immigration Hotline 1345 offers support in multiple languages. Official websites like immigration.go.kr, High Korea, have English information on forms and procedures. And, of course, peers who have gone through it are a great help. Q&A. We've now reached the end of the lecture. I know this was a lot of information, and you might have specific questions about your situation. We have some time for Q&A, so please feel free to ask anything that's on your mind. No question is too small, whether it's, can I do this part-time job? Or what do I do if I want to change majors? Does it affect my visa? Or how can I improve my chances for an E7? I'm here to help clarify. Engaging closing remarks. Thank you for staying with me through this comprehensive session. Your presence here already shows you're taking your future in Korea seriously, which is great. Navigating visas can seem daunting, but with knowledge and careful planning, it's absolutely manageable. I hope you feel more equipped now to plan your path. Whether it's working at a top Korean company, starting your own business, or eventually becoming a permanent resident here. Good luck with your studies and careers, and welcome to the start of your long-term journey in Korea. For further help or follow-up, You can reach out to the International Student Affairs Office at international.officeuniversity.ac.kr. Also check out Immigration's English site or call 1345 for specific visa inquiries. We're here to support you. Thank you, and I'll now take your questions.